How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Black Firm, where we highlight black voices, black issues, and the politics behind them. Before we get started, please do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share, completely free, and it really helps boost out the algorithm. Today, we have an extremely special guest, and I'm so excited for her to be here. She is the regent for CU Denver, representing the 1st Congressional District of Colorado, the owner and co-founder of Simply Pure, which is the first black-owned dispensary in America, a political strategist, and pretty much a dope person from what I've talked about so far, seen so far. So welcome, Wanda. Thank you so much for coming. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting, anytime I get to sit down and talk about the things that affect our community. And our folks, I am all about it.
Bless. Well, this is something that, I've really been trying to talk about on my platform more, is that I feel like what happens within the black community is we get representatives who try to highlight the issues within our community and then get to the position and it's like, oh, well, what happened, right? And I think that, as black voters, as American citizens, as voters, we need to vet our representatives a little bit better, right? And understand who these people are. And I think that, to me, I think the reason why we have Trump in office right now is because multiple things, but because we didn't participate in our local elections first.
Ooh.
And so I think that right now is such a excellent opportunity for us to get to know somebody who is going to bat and hopefully going to go to DC for us and go to bat for us. So, just kind of getting into your professional career. So as regent of University of Colorado, what is your position there? And what is give me like a rundown of what you look over.
Like, what's a regent?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have 9 regents at the University of Colorado.
Okay.
We have 1 regent that is elected in every congressional district. So I am the regent who represents Congressional District 1. What we are, well, quite frankly, we are the most powerful board in Colorado. We oversee in excess of a $6 billion budget.
Wow.
We oversee 4 campuses: University of Colorado Boulder, University of Colorado Denver, University of Colorado Colorado Springs, and CU Anschutz. We also oversee the president and the president's office. We approve all contracts. We hire the president of the university.
Wow.
So yes, I am Coach Prime's boss. Yep, that's what we do. So while we don't influence curriculum at all at the university, we do make sure that the people that we are hiring represent the needs of Colorado. I am the first black woman to be elected to the Board of Regents in over 43 years.
Wow.
There have only been 3 black regents.
But the history of Colorado, despite it being, this liberal safe haven, I think is kind of alarming when you really kind of look into the politics and the involvement with some white supremacist groups and things like that.
KKK stronghold.
Right,
Absolutely.
and that's something I would never consider. It's like Colorado, I think everybody's skiing and stuff, but no, man. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
All right.
So Navy veteran as well, fellow veteran. I thank you so much for your service. What'd you do in the Navy?
So I was commissioned through the Naval ROTC unit at the University of Colorado Boulder. I am an alum of University of Colorado Boulder. And I was also the first black woman commissioned through the Naval ROTC unit at the University of Colorado Boulder. So my position in the Navy, I was an oceanographic watch officer, which I worked with anti-submarine warfare is what I did. We were sub-hunters. If anybody has seen the new Mission Impossible and they were talking about NAVFACs and naval facilities, SOSUS, that's what we did.
You.
Yeah, that's what we did.
You're like, that's
yeah,
me.
I know. That's what I was like, wow, Mission Impossible. That's right. That's right. No, it was exciting to see NAVFACs being the focus of the Mission Impossible universe.
Okay.
It didn't quite look like that as it did in real life, but kind of like that.
Got you. So did your naval career affect your political career at all? Because we kind of see that pipeline.
100%.
Okay.
100%. So, being in the Navy, not just in the Navy. My father was an Air Force vet. My grandfather was a veteran. So I come from
Gotcha.
a long line of military vets in a military family. I was raised military. And when you're raised military, I like to kind of think that we are citizens of the world, right? You live in different countries. When you're a child, your best friend might not have spoken your language. You ate at your friend's parents' house or your friend's house, and your friends may have been Korean or Korean and black or British and black or, British or, I mean, whatever, wherever their mom, well, back in the day, wherever their moms tend to come from. So you end up with this amazing respect for culture and food
Absolutely.
and language and just, you know, honestly, I didn't think that isms were a deal until I got into college, because we grew up in a society of mixing races and cultures, and we respected it.
Absolutely. That's a excellent point, and something that I think doesn't get touched on enough is that in largely people live in homogenous societies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like typically you live by the people that you
Mm-hmm.
look around, like that you look
Just
like.
look like, yep.
And so that was my first experience. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm from the north side of
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, and that was my first experience to be around all these different ethnicities, and we're in the most stressed out scenario we've ever been in, which is
Yep.
boot camp.
Yep.
So
Yep.
but it does give you a little bit, or not a little bit, a lot of insight, and very quickly a quick dose of insight into what everybody, despite their backgrounds, what they need, what they're looking for, what they're interested in. So I definitely do, especially being a naval officer, that pipeline directly into politics makes perfect sense. Okay, so what about now also the first black cannabis dispensary owner? And that's now we have a lot of overlap because I also work in the cannabis industry.
Oh, okay.
And I've been doing
I
that.
thought you were going to say I smoke joints, but yeah, okay. All right.
Oh, I do
awesome.
that. I do be smoking some
We
joints,
overlap.
but no, yeah, I've
Yeah.
worked in since 2018 here.
Okay.
Do a lot of
Nice.
marketing and stuff for them. But so as a dispensary owner, like let's put that hat on, because
Yeah.
to me, I came out to Colorado in the gold rush like everybody else. Like, hey, let's go get rich off the pot, right? But in reality, I imagine that says that the margins aren't what everybody thinks they are.
Man.
What do you? I mean, how is the cannabis industry? Give me some insight onto the industry as right now, and being a black woman owner within that space.
So we opened up our first dispensary in 2009. And we opened it because I was then Congressman Jared Polis's campaign manager in 2008, who is now obviously Governor Jared Polis. In 2007, I ended up at a fundraiser where there was only like 10 people in the room with this Illinois senator by the name of Barack Hussein Obama. So I got to know him,
Wow.
ended up on his National Finance Committee. So by the end of 2008, I had worked for the now President of the United States and the first openly gay congressman elected to Congress.
Wow.
We knew that Obama was going to bring on what we called the Ogden Memo, and the Ogden Memo was which was going to allow states to legalize for medicinal marijuana. My husband and I decided to open up a dispensary because we wanted to talk about the socioeconomic impact of mass incarceration and what the drug war had done to communities of color. I have a brother that was arrested at the age of 17, and by 18 they had put him in. He was arrested with 4.5 ounces of cannabis, about $164 worth of street weed in Texas. It cost him 10 years of his life.
Oh my God.
And 4.5 of those
Oh my
years, my black brother picked cotton in Texas to purchase his freedom. So when I heard that, I was disgusted. But what really got me moving on that was my brother's story is not unique
Right.
at all.
Right.
800,000 people a year back then were arrested for simple possession. And this is what fueled slave labor in the United States. Now I don't have to go back. I'm sure your listeners and folks all know what slave labor and the drug war, they're directly connected. You can only be a slave in America when you're incarcerated. So that was the reason why we became dispensary owners, is because we wanted to be able to talk about it. And when you said, was it the military that brought us into politics, which then led us into cannabis. My husband is also a vet. He's a Marine.
Hoorah.
He is, relatively very famous. He's owned restaurants for a long time, from LA to Colorado. He's a chef. He is also a renowned cannabis chef.
Oh, wow.
So when we started talking about cannabis, we felt safe in being the first ones. We figured that they weren't going to try to arrest us, although they did. They raided us once. It didn't work out for them. But anyway, but it's a shame in America that to be able to step into that space, you had to have senators, congressmen, the next president on speed dial to be able to feel safe, to be able to do what all of the white guys were doing at that time, right? So yeah, we opened it to be able to talk about social justice issues, and for the last 16 years, that's what we've been talking about, social justice issues and wanting to end mass incarceration. So somewhere along the line, it became $1 billion industry.
Right.
But it is not $1 billion industry for independent owners, small entrepreneurs, and those that are under the guise of social equity. As a matter of fact, it may do the exact opposite for you.
That's something that I've really feared. I've been selling pot since I was 13. I've been in the market.
What?
I've been the market. Right. I've been in the market since I was 13. And one thing I recognized when I came to Colorado was that I would go to the dispensaries, and I was starting my business to do videos and advertising for dispensaries, and I would always talk to the owners, and it'd always be a white guy every single time, right? And I'm like, I know there's a lot of Hispanic people, I know there's a lot of black people. Where are these people represented in pot? And what I found is that the people who put their freedom on the line to give the community this medicine have no equity within this industry now. And so now we're seeing, as opposed to small artisanal shops, it's Target and Walmart and Costco, and we're seeing all these, Aurora and all these different guys coming up from Canada and Russia and coming in and buying large scale weed. And now, to me, weed is a spiritual experience. It's not just some, let's get high. I mean, that's fun too, but it's a spiritual experience, and I like to know the person who grew my weed. I like to know what strain it was. I like to pair it with my food and my, and it just coming from this large big box container store takes away the soul of what I think we originally, what it was started off to do.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I mean, no doubt it was going to go that way, because as we were discussing early on, it's the beast is money, right? And so when is lots of money to be made, spirituality tends to go out the door. Small ownership tends to go out the door, which is really sad, especially when it comes to cannabis, because it is an experience, right? A long time ago, I used to say I look forward to the day that nobody cares who the first black owner of a dispensary was, or who the owner is, because we don't know who the owner of Grey Goose vodka is, and we don't care, right? But that was a mistake on my part. I shouldn't have said that, because I believe that people do want to know who's growing your weed.
Absolutely, that's just so big to me.
I know,
and I think
it's
that
different.
What we're seeing, Wanda, for sure right now is we're seeing this divergence on a mass scale within the black community, within all different communities of, let's get back to our bases. Let's go organic. Let's go to the Whole Foods market. Let's go to the market and go get, our skincare and cook for ourselves.
Get our shea butter.
Right. Get your shea butter right. You got it right. Get off of that Jergens, man. Right. So that's what, largely what we're seeing. And I do believe that right now, the people who weather the storm, like the people who weathered the storm during the Great Depression are Chase and J.P. Morgan, right? Those robber barons. And I think the same exact thing right now. I think
the sad thing is, though, is small businesses aren't going to be able to weather the storm. And you're not going to be able to weather the storm because of supply and demand. You're not going to be able to weather the storm because of overregulation. You're not going to be able to weather the storm because of ridiculous taxation. I have to tell you that we are taxed like Pablo Escobar in this business. And if people don't know what that means, it means that I am taxed on every dollar that comes into the dispensary, to where normal business is only taxed on the money that the business would keep. So if I make $100 today, or if $100 comes into my dispensary, and I pay $50 out to payroll and $25 out to rent, in other businesses I would only be taxed then on the $25 that the business kept. In cannabis, I'm taxed on the full 100,
Wow.
even though 75% of it never came to me. It kind of went out to, we can't write off salaries, we can't write off depreciation, I can't write off electricity, I can't write off marketing, I can't write off.
So you have no business write-offs in this business?
No.
That is incredible. How can anybody live? How can
Exactly.
So it's designed to smother.
There's the point, and that was the point behind Pablo Escobar, right? So if you're bringing in, cocaine and you're putting $1 billion in the bank, well, we're not going to be able to get you on murder and racketeering, but we will get you on tax evasion.
Tax fraud, right?
Right. And so we have
Wow.
maintained in the cannabis space that we are not Pablo Escobar because I'm registered with the Secretary of State. Pablo Escobar was not. There's a big sign that says Simply Pure above my dispensary. Pablo Escobar's business is not safe, buy cocaine here. I mean, none of that is true, but here we are. And so no business can survive that. None.
Wow.
Not even the big ones who are making $1 billion. They're making $1 billion, but they're still coming up with a $75 million loss each year. Right? So their runway is longer, but that's going to catch up to them as well too. Smaller owners in the business, no chance of survival.
Days are numbered, huh?
No chance of survival.
Wow.
No chance of survival.
And I find that just so unfortunate, especially, for the fact that something I always said is that, before it was legal or I ever thought weed would be, selling legal weed would ever be a thing, there wasn't a legal black market. And I would always think about I would see my cousins and they weren't selling weed. They had a lot more money than I did. And I would always see them and I'd be like, wow, the only difference between them and the CEO of Pfizer is legislation.
That's it.
That's the only thing. They're both pushing dope to their community, right? And they both are incentivized by capital. So what's the difference? It's just red tape. It's just legislation.
Well, so there's a lot of difference. OxyContin kills X amount of people a year. We becomes addicted to it. It's the reason we don't have Prince. It's the reason we don't have Michael Jackson. It's the reason we don't have a whole lot of people. Cannabis has never killed anybody.
Anyone ever.
So that is a big difference, which is kind of crazy, the fact that I'm taxed like Pablo Escobar and I've never killed anybody. But yeah, I mean, it's a real big issue, which leads to why, not the only reason why, but one of the reasons why I'm running for Congress, right? Because we, the cannabis industry, needs to put one of us at the table. We have been giving politicians millions of dollars for so many years that are like, oh yeah, we're going to get you safe banking, we're going to deschedule, we're going to try to legalize, we're going to get you all of this stuff, right? And we keep writing them these big checks. And they go behind a door, go into a meeting, and they come out and, well, yeah, we can't get you banking. It costs $20,000 a year for me to have a depository account. It's not even a banking thing. So, who pays $20,000 a year for banking? Amazon doesn't, but Simply Pure does, right? So make this make sense. So until we put one of us at the table to be able to change federal legislation, we stand zero chance of ever seeing any of this change because the politicians are duping us right now. So we need one of our own, somebody that you won't have to explain what a pre-roll is to, that is there at the table, because decisions are made at the table. Once they walk out and start talking to people, that die is already cast, the decision is already made, it's over.
And that's something that I saw also with early legislation in weed or in cannabis is that, the way they were Delta 8 and THCA, and I'm like, there's no way that people who understand cannabis are making these laws. There's no way that, right? But let's talk about that. So running for the U.S. House of Representatives, I really want to get into that. So I love the progression of Wanda so far, right? We have naval officer, right? We have cannabis owner. Shit's not going good in cannabis. We're like, hey, you know what? Let's go to DC and get this thing figured out.
Yeah.
So what position are you running for? And just tell me a little bit about that. I'm purely ignorant.
So I am running for U.S. House Representative for Congress. And the simple reason is I'm running because I'm a fighter, because I'm a warrior. And that, what you just said, the progression of who I am, I see a problem, I go in, I fix it. I see a problem, I go in and I fight it. I see a problem, I go in and I find ways to make it better. That's just what I have done my entire life. So why am I running for Congress? One, I'm already elected in Congressional District 1. Like I said, as a regent, every regent is already elected in the district. I won being a regent in 2022 with 213,000 votes.
Wow.
The Congresswoman, who has been in office for 30 years that same year, was reelected with 227,000 votes. 13,000 votes more than me. Unheard of. So she's been in office for 30 years. She's passed 2 bills. Unheard of. The actual definition of do-nothing Democrat is exactly who is in office right now, a do-nothing Democrat.
Wow.
And and that has probably been fine with people, or not fine with people, but whatever, in a time before we had a dictator in the White House. Before
Right,
we've had,
right.
no, seriously, I mean, call it what it is, right? Call a spade a spade. So we are at a point in America right now, and people have said this so often, and I've heard it, this is a great experiment. Democracy is fragile. It's a participation sport. We haven't participated very well. We're finding out how fragile it is, and we are in dire straits right now. Dire straits. So when you say to me, well, what are you going to do? As an American, I see a problem, I go forth, and I fix it. So I am thrilled to be able to be a candidate for Congressional District 1. I am going to be loving the opportunity to be able to not just represent Congressional District 1, and Congressional District 1 for the most part is Denver. It's Denver and Glendale is most of the district, right? I am going to be thrilled to be able to represent the people there because I am Denver. What do I mean by that? I mean, what's never lost on the ballot in Denver? Cannabis. I'm a small business owner. I'm a former military officer. Colorado has a large percentage of vets. In the district, it's about 3.5% are vets here in the district. But the larger idea of being a veteran right now, when we are planning on going to war with Venezuela, which, I mean, come on. Come on. You know what I mean?
Bruh,
we've got the largest battle group in the world right now in the Caribbean Sea. What are we doing?
Shooting dinghies.
What are we doing? You know what I mean? I mean, no, and it's funny. If it's not funny, then you
It's
cry.
horrible.
Then you cry. Yeah, I mean,
right,
then you cry,
right.
right? So I'm not one of these people that's just going to sit back and stick my finger in my mouth and not do anything about this, right? So we're looking at healthcare right now. Healthcare is a human right. Why is healthcare doubling in the richest country in the world? Healthcare? And why do we have to force the White House to feed children on SNAP? What are we doing? Why did I hear that there is a 30% increase of military families using food banks? First off, I was floored that there was a 30% increase of military families using food stamps. I was like, wait a minute. Why are military families using food banks?
At all.
At all.
And
At all. So these are the things when I think about being elected to the federal level and being elected to Washington, these are the things that I'm going to be speaking out about. These are the things that I am going to be fighting against. These are the things I'm going to be verbal about because, I'm unafraid. I'm unafraid.
Okay. So I guess what I would love to ask is, how do you get stuff done in a position that is set up for you to fail, right? We see Jasmine Crockett as one of the brightest
Love
minds
her.
in Congress that we
Love
have,
her.
right? But she continues to be, just fall to patriarchy consistently, or racism, or whatever ism that we see. We see that we have constant personal attacks, and I don't ever see any of her legislation or policies attacked. How do you feel as a Black woman you're going to be able to go get things done in DC?
So Jasmine Crockett has been amazingly successful in getting things done for her district, bringing money home to her district. The personal attacks are just a bunch of bullshit, right? So that is what it is. And once again, being a former military officer, say what you will. You want to have a public fight? Sure, I'm a street fighter. We can have a public fight. I don't care. We can get down in the dirt. You want to do that? Yeah, let's get down in the dirt, right? But at the end of the day, are you going to be effective in bringing things back for your district, being able to support the people who put you in office? And once again, when you're speaking in Congress, it's federal level, so you
Right.
speak for all of America. Even though you're elected from CD1 here in Denver, the rules and the regulations that we make and the way that we speak affects America entirely. And quite frankly, folks that look like us, i.e. people of color, folks that look like me, a woman, it's time to know that we have got people that will go to the mat for them, right? In the same way that, the MAGA crowd goes to the mat for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is horribly ineffective, to be honest with you. He's losing battles left and right. To be honest with you, the minute that he gets out of office, if he lives that long, All of the things all of the things that he is currently doing are illegal, right? So he may pardon himself or whatever else, or but the mess that he is making on the state level will continue to be an issue. That does not help us today.
Right.
It doesn't. But until we start being more verbal to let Americans know that this is not normal, that this is not okay, man, we need fighters.
Okay, so going to Donald Trump, and I mean, to me, this is just, I don't even understand. Like, even, I think the entire mockery, I think the entire, Constitution and the situation that we have today, I don't believe in it. But even if we're saying that you're a strict constructionist, we've deviated away so much, even from the original principle, right? And
gone.
So if right now the platform of the law of the law of the land is far right extremism, how do we combat that? And I mean, we can't combat it with moderate centrism. How do, and it's not based in politics or policies. And that's kind of here the contention that I get when I have this conversation is, well, these, oppression isn't within our policies or our politics. But this is more an ideology. Donald Trump and MAGA, empowers this ideology of racism, this ideology of the Southern strategy of, well, at least we're not going to be as bad as them. We're not going to be, we're poor white folks, but we're not going to be as bad off as them. And because of that, we're going to support something completely against our interests, as a capitalist or a billionaire. So I guess my question is, how do we combat far right extremism?
Who won the election?
Good old Donnie.
Did he? Because let me tell you who won the election. There's a candidate that won the election. The candidate's name did not vote.
That's a good point. There
90 million Americans did not vote.
There you go.
Trump got, I think, off the top of my head, 77 million. Kamala got 78 million, 76, whatever it was, a couple million less. 90 million people did not vote. Did not vote won by almost 19 million votes. So when I hear people, who are ready, and I talk to them, we're gonna take up arms, I'm gonna take it to the street, we're gonna go show something. I'm like, you know what, you ain't gotta do all that. You just gotta show up on the first Tuesday in November and vote. And everybody wants to give me reasons why they don't vote. Voting don't work, my vote don't matter, this vote don't matter, this vote don't matter, blah, 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 this vote don't matter. Yeah, it kind of does. And it's the easiest thing that you can do. And not just vote in the presidential election, but vote in every election. Because, with the exception of Trump, and that's we can have a whole nother podcast on just Trump alone, but usually the person that gets to be president has probably won 3 or 4 elections before they got to be president, right? So this is where it starts. Mondami, the mayor of New York, assemblyman.
Wow.
That's one of your house reps here in Colorado, one of your Colorado house reps. They win those seats with 10,000 votes.
Wow.
Right? So when you start talking about your city council members, they win their votes with maybe 4,000 votes. 3,000 or 4,000 votes.
That's
will determine whether you run the city of Denver.
That's a neighborhood.
It's your neighborhood.
Wow.
Right? So young folks, black folks, Latinos, please stop coming up because some dead-ass rapper told you that your vote don't matter and you're going to run down that path. You know what I mean? Honest to God, just go vote. Okay. That's the very first thing that we can do. Because imagine if we voted all the time in every election, our voice would matter. The people that we wanted to be president would at least be in the running to be president. Right? There's a reason why the people that we vote for are always old, male, and white. Because guess who votes? Old male, and white.
That's a really good point, Wanda. I mean, that's hard to argue with. I talk to a lot of people who are farther left than me, more communists and in the streets and anarchists. And, I bounce around some of their ideas. But what they do the whole non-participating thing. And, I look at things like South Carolina. I know there was a case, I think it was 2016, where they had a case where, the city council members, they voted to where the NAACP was suing the state where they were illegally partisan gerrymandering, and they said the incumbent, the only reason he was elected was due to stark racial gerrymandering of this congressional district. And so, I mean, as Black people, we've been disenfranchised, right?
Sure.
We've continued to be disenfranchised, but
Sure.
how do we combat things like that? How can we combat partisan gerrymandering where it's right?
So the whole gerrymandering thing that we're all talking about right now, and if folks don't know what gerrymandering means, it means how we draw the districts of which people will vote for a particular representative. You all know that the gerrymandering battle we have right now is because of Jasmine Crockett.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Trump doesn't want her in there. So when you're saying, you know how they're picking on this woman and giving her a hard time, why would they want to change an entire system to stop her from being in office? Because she's hugely effective, people are listening to her, and we just can't have it.
Wow.
Right? So they literally did this to be able to redraw her district so that she couldn't win again. Right?
Didn't know that.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm talking about. So this is why, once again, being involved in politics, being involved in the system is so very important, and having people that you want to listen to, because we want to listen to Jasmine Crockett. We like how she talks, right?
Sure.
We're down with all that, right?
Sure.
If you want more Jasmine Crockett's, vote.
Go to the poll.
Vote,
Okay.
vote.
So let's change up just a little bit. So this is something that myself as a socialist and somebody who does own a means of production, it's a constant battle because I understand.
Are you a democratic socialist or a socialist?
I'm a pure socialist.
Do you own a business?
I do.
How's that work?
It's crazy, huh? That's a crazy
conundrum,
right?
That
That's a crazy
me.
conundrum, right?
Yeah.
Well, the issue is, in order for true socialism to work, there has to be global socialism, or at least an idea of global socialism. And globally, socialism has been stamped out. Any chance?
Yeah, but you own a business, though.
Well, I mean, I have to live, right? I have to work in this system. And that's kind of that's what I go back and forth on, is that you as a capitalist, as a business owner, somebody who does own means of production, going to DC, how do you balance your corporate profits with making sure that people are being taken care of for? Because those two things, in my opinion, fundamentally disagree.
I think that those two things fundamentally agree. The issue that we have gotten off on, and I can't tell you where it started, I guess the 80s, I don't know, or I mean it's forever when we start to talk about businesses and corporations. You can be a business like Enron, or you can be a business like Ben & Jerry's, right? You can be a business, that chooses to fight for the public good, that continues to fight for the people who work for it, because ultimately, your business is only good as the people who are there with you and working with you, right? Taking care of your employees, taking good care to put out good product, taking good care to make sure that your product works with the planet and not against the planet, seems to be in the favor of all of us, right? Polluting waters, putting stuff in the air that we can't breathe, putting out product that will eventually clog your arteries and kill you, making your employees, i.e. Walmart, so poor that the public dole has to support them all the time while your CEO is paid billions upon billions of dollars. Those things to me are ridiculous. So when I look at what corporations should be the biggest supporter of human rights, and the planet. Because the only way for a corporation to do well is if humans, the planet, and the product are all spectacular, right? So once again, we are rewarding the wrong people. And are y'all still shopping at Walmart? Me neither, but someone's out there shopping at Walmart.
Somebody got, that's the only thing they got probably next to them.
That part, right? And then when Walmart comes into a neighborhood, what happens? It wipes out every mom and pop store that you've gone to, because you can get everything at Walmart for pennies on the dollar, right? So the only way that, once again, we the people, when we talk about that document that was written, I do think it was a genius document, and it's supposed to evolve with the country, but I love the way that it starts. We The people. So if we, the people, continue to support these corporations,
Right.
then we're feeding the beast, right? And I get it. Easier said than done. Easier said than not going to Walmart. I understand.
Right.
I do. I get that part. But that's kind of what we've all run into. For me, as a business owner, I'm not a capitalist. A capitalist actually has capital that they trade in and work in, and I'm not there. But being a small business owner means putting out the very best that you possibly can, right? Even in the face of ridiculous taxation and overregulation and everything else, we do the best that we can to produce a product that is worthy of the people, of the planet, and the products that we put out. So I hope we can get back to that being rewarded one day.
As of right now, it's not, right? As of right now, if we go public, my fiduciary duty is to pay these shareholders, right? So I have to do better each year than I did before.
Yeah, but the only way to pay your shareholders, once again, is by making sure that your people and your product are in line with the planet, right? I mean, it depends on how much you're trying to pay your shareholders, right? And this is the other problem that we've run into is corporate greed.
Right.
$1 billion? And I forgot the numbers. I meant to check it when I came in here, but there's the whole idea behind seconds, and I'm completely wrong on this, but just to pull it in together, but 1 million seconds is, I don't know, 6 months, whatever it is, right? 1 billion seconds is 10 years.
Right.
1 trillion seconds is 5,000 years or something, right? So when we start to think about those in just terms of dollars, I mean, it's time to start taxing the people who are making $1 billion in terms of being $1 billion, right?
Okay.
Because they owe us more to put back into the planet and to our people and to the workers, right? It makes no sense for me that we're financing your great, 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 great grandchildren. Come on.
Right.
We may not have a planet then.
So do you believe in higher corporate profit or higher corporate taxes?
1,000%.
What's equitable? 50%?
So you know what? I mean, I think when you sit down and you start talking about it, no, I think it's actually higher than that. I think that once there's a taxation up to your first billion, and after your first billion, I think that goes, way up, ridiculously up.
99.9?
No, I don't know if it's 99. I don't know if it's 99.9, but the tax code absolutely needs to change because here's the deal: does Amazon use your roads?
Of course.
There's always an Amazon
Absolutely.
truck parked in
More
front of
than
my car all the time, right? I mean, illegally parked somewhere where they shouldn't be, blocking traffic on my roads, right? So I got Amazon trucks on the road. Does Amazon use our air traffic controllers? Do they use our airspace?
Of course.
Are they using up more fuel than your car, than United and everybody else? Yeah.
Wow.
So if we are subsidizing your business, then you owe the American people as a vendor.
I 100% agree with that.
So that number needs to be greatly increased.
Okay.
Greatly increased. My other issue too, when I think about big corporations, no corporation, the reason we broke up, you think you brought this up when we were talking, they broke up Standard Oil at the turn of the century because no corporation can be more powerful than the government.
Right. No one's greater than the state.
So why are we allowing all of these corporations now? Why is Tesla going to be $1 trillion company?
$1 trillion? I was like, $1 trillion? Y'all get him a trill?
So when we start to think about that, it's time to break that up. Also, too, you're too young to remember, but Ma Bell. Ma Bell used to be the telephone company in the United States.
Oh, like Bell South and like.
Boom.
Okay, yeah.
We broke up Ma Bell into Bell South, into Pacific Bell, into Atlantic Bell, into Mountain Bell. All the bells got broke up into baby bells because Ma Bell. We could not have one company that controlled how every American communicated.
Wow.
So if that's the case right now, how do you communicate? Facebook, IG,
yeah, pretty much.
Instagram, TikTok, right? So they don't get to control how America communicates.
Wow.
Break them up.
Ooh.
Break them up. Wow. This is the problem. We've allowed 5 white men to decide how we are controlled in America. Not even just America, in the world.
For sure.
Break this shit up.
I agree with it.
Now.
Okay, let's apply some antitrust laws to the government.
Apply some antitrust laws to the government,
Sherman
which
laws.
is where they came from in the first place.
Right. Absolutely.
So this is why we need better leaders who aren't afraid to stand up to these folks, because people are now just running with their heads up their ass and they're afraid of everything.
Okay. So my question is, if I'm a big corporate owner, why would I donate to your campaign if...
I'm telling them to break up your company?
Right.
I'm gonna tax you to hell
And I'm
out?
gonna tax you to hell. Why would I donate to you?
The big corporate people aren't going to donate to me.
Okay, I love that. That's great. That is something that I can get behind.
And if they do donate to me, then that means that they're walking with me.
Yeah, that's
That they're walking with me saying, you know what? I got $1 billion. My kids are fine. My grandkids are fine. Maybe my great grandkids might be fine. And I'm okay with that being enough.
Okay.
Right? So who do I expect to donate to my campaign for Congress? People who care about the planet. Blacks, Latinos, women. Small business owners. People who believe in small business. And I believe in small business. And what do I mean by small business? Not necessarily businesses that have 500 people, but businesses that have 10 people, 20 people. People like me, who owns a dispensary. My husband, who owns a restaurant. My husband right now is at his restaurant preparing for the day. He's out there, he's knee deep in chicken right now. He's jerking some stuff right now, right? Jerk chicken, not jerking, jerk chicken. Make everybody clear. But you know, he's working in his business.
Right.
He's not paying himself 700 times more than he pays the chef that works alongside of him.
Got you.
People who care about the planet. People who care about the environment. That's who I want to donate to my campaign. Young people who want the opportunity to be able to go to college like I did. My Pell Grant paid for my college. I didn't walk out of college with a $200,000 debt.
Wow.
Women who believe in the opportunity to be paid the same as the man sitting next to them. I'm more concerned about all of those people than I am about the corporate greed. You know why? Because more of those people, we control more money,
Right.
we can bring more stuff to the table than any one of those corporations or big pharma.
Welcome back to the Black Firm. We are currently going live on TikTok. Going to take some live questions. I was talking with Wanda earlier, and I was just saying I think one of the most difficult parts for us trying to vote in our local elections is that we don't know these people, right? Mm-hmm. We see a name on a candidate, we see maybe their picture on the highway, and we're like, oh, they're pretty, they got a cool red shirt on, I'm gonna vote for them, right? But we don't know who these people are. We don't know their politics, we don't know anything about them. And I think right now is the most perfect time to ask some real life questions. I really appreciate something your campaign manager said was that, you know, you wanted to meet people where they are. And I think that that's so important because, you know, people hear me talk and they're like, oh, he country, you know, he don't know nothing. But the whole time, like, I pay attention, right?
You're paying attention.
And so, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, certain groups of people are country or uneducated or not, right? But when you meet people where they are and you talk to people, you be like, wow, these are some very highly intelligent, highly skilled people. So yeah, if you have some questions, please come on in.
Let's fix that statement here just real quick too. Being country does not mean that you are unintelligent or uninformed.
I don't know why they two go together.
You know, I don't know. I mean, my family is from Yoakum, Texas, and they can break it down for you. You know what I mean? They country is all get up. But I mean, it doesn't take away from, you know, what they understand about the world and where they're at, right? And part of what this campaign is important to me, or part of what's important to me, period, is you meet the moment. You know what I mean? You meet the moment, you meet the people, we meet the folks where they're at, because we're going back to what we talked about earlier, the first few words of that document, we the people. We the country people, we the city people, we the black people, we the Latino people. You know what I mean?
Facts.
We the people.
Okay, now. So we were talking about, you know, you're running for Congress, for House of Representatives now.
I am.
For the 1st Congressional District of Colorado. And we were talking about, you know, getting to DC and some of the issues that you want to tackle. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier on the podcast, but Wanda is actually the first black owner of a cannabis dispensary in the United States. So, you know, beyond her political career, you know, that is just an incredible achievement. But you were talking about your political activism within the the cannabis space. And you were mentioning, how your brother had been, lost 10 years of his life over, a sandwich bag of weed.
Yeah.
And so, we were talking about going to DC and some of the restorative justice. I talk about restitution and reparations a lot on my platform.
Nice.
And I think cannabis is a perfect vehicle in order for us to use some of the tax money to repair our roads, repair our houses, repair our infrastructure. What can you say as far as like restitution? What will be your position on that, and how do you feel that the Black community? There's other marginalized communities that deserve reparations, but I can only focus on the Black community. What do you think the Black community deserves, or how do we get to that?
So every other marginalized community in America has received reparations. The Japanese were given reparations. Do you all know that the slave owners at the end of slavery were given reparations for the loss of their property? So when we talk about reparations, this is a right that America must, this is a wrong that America must right immediately. And I get tired when people are like, well, slavery was 150 years ago. No, it wasn't. When we start talking about the times that we were enslaved, then we talk about the Jim Crow era, then we talk about Reconstruction. My father voted for the first time 1 year after I was born.
Wow. Let that sit in for 1 second. I'm sure Joe Biden was in office at this time.
I mean,
running.
It's crazy when you think about the 1964 Voting Act, right? And so, and even then, it was made difficult for so many of us to vote. And the same thing that we're seeing now, why a lot of Latinos are afraid to go to the polls because they're going to put ICE agents there, right? Even if you have the right to be there, you're an American citizen, it's still fearful. It's still fear-based, right? So when we start to talk about these kind of things, I'm 100% for reparations. The question becomes is what are the reparations that we should be given?
Right,
and so when I think about that, and I haven't really dived into this, but what I think that reparations should be are simple. Those who are ancestors of slavery should not have to pay taxes. Those who are ancestors of slavery, their children should be able to go to any school that they are accepted to, and that bill should be sent to America. Education, the opportunity not to have to buy into the tax base for America for some percentage of generations, 1, 2, 3 generations, to be able to make up for what it is that we put into the building of this country. When you think about the idea as a business owner, if you didn't have to pay your employees, how rich would you be?
Oh my God.
How rich would you be if you did not have to face a payroll every 2 weeks, right? And that's what happened in this country for 150 years. And there are already actuaries that have worked out what the cotton industry owns us, what the labor industry owns us, what the train systems owe us, right? Because we can look at what that labor was.
Right, and put a number.
And put a number on it.
Right.
Right? So,
Real quick, sorry. If you can approve the request on the live.
There's no. There's no request here. Oh, here we go. I just sent you an invite to yours.
To mine? No, not as a, I guess. Okay. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, all right. Didn't the Asians get paid for their fair share in creating train system, Chinese specifically?
They sure did, and they also got paid because of the wrong that was done to them when we put them in camps during World War II, right? So they were paid reparations for that. It was a wrong that America owed. For whatever the reason is that we just don't think that we owe Black American, well, not we, but they don't think that they owe Black Americans money, is absurd to me, and it is something that we should all be fighting for. Okay. We should all be fighting for. And not only fighting for it, we should be talking about it. We should be bringing it to our elected officials and asking them point blank, if you get my vote, if I give you my vote, are you going to go fight for this for me? If I write you this check, are you going to be fighting for this for me? And if their answer is, well, yeah, okay, well then no, you don't get my vote, you don't get my money. Period.
So, okay, now let me play devil's advocate. if I'm the average Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes listener,
Whoa,
right?
Lord.
I gotta go there. If I'm the average Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes listener, and I know that that is the future Republicans of America, and why? How do you convince that person that the descendants of slaves deserve? Because the first thing I hear is, "Oh, well, you weren't a slave, or you never went through slavery. Why do you deserve that?"
Yeah, we kind of did. If your father or your brother or and I'm using men because it was mostly men, but your mother did any time in prison, then your family was subjected to slavery. And we have seen that mass incarceration has affected communities of color more than anybody else. So yeah, you were, and you were subjected to slavery. And let me go back to, once again, my father voted for the first time when I was 1 year old. What would have happened if my grandfather could have voted? If my great-grandfather could have voted? What would happen if my mother could have voted? So yeah, I am absolutely the victim of slavery, right? 150 years is a drop in the bucket. And I know when you're 20, 21 years old, 18, 19 years old, 150 years seems like a very, very, very long time, right? My mother was a child when Hitler bombed England. My mother is British. Her street was bombed when she was 11 years old. My mother's formal education stopped at the beginning of World War II and never came back.
Wow.
She remembers being hungry as a child. So when we start to talk about history and we start talking to our parents and our grandparents, we find out that 150 years is nothing more than 3 generations ago.
Wow.
I mean, that generations of 10 years, it's longer than that, but somebody who was born within that generational period. So yeah, you, my friend, have absolutely been affected by slavery and by racism. 100%. 100%. And especially when we start talking about Jim Crow laws, or who was elected when, or home ownership. Hell, if you're a woman, you couldn't even have a credit card until 1975 without your husband's approval. So let's talk about that, right? So I mean, these are the things in America that, it just was not that long ago. And America, y'all, 400 years, 250 years officially, the house my mother grew up in was older than that.
Wow, same. Our church is older than that where I'm from. Absolutely.
This is what I'm talking about. So see, it's just not that long ago. And America is still unwritten. We are still writing the process as we go through it. So it's vital that we start to fight for fixing the wrongs that have been pushed against American citizens.
Okay. So I do want to, kind of get into it. What's up, Miss Ambitious? What's up, y'all? Y'all double tap the live share out. If you have questions, just give me how do we hold lying politicians accountable is what somebody asked. Nitesh asked,
lying politicians?
Hold lying politicians accountable?
Vote them
Great
out
question.
vote them out of office. If somebody is lying to you, vote them out of office. And once again, we were talking about earlier before we went live, is who won the presidential vote? It was do not vote. That candidate won. 90 million people did not vote. So we can't start talking about lying politicians if we're not voting to remove them out of office. And there is nothing more important than your vote. And if your vote wasn't so important, why are they spending so much time and energy and money to make sure that you don't vote? Why do they put you in prison so that you can't vote? So for y'all that thinks that voting is not important, just look around you and figure out that, yeah, man, they wouldn't be doing all of this if it wasn't so important. Want lying politicians out? Vote them out.
That's a good point. Hey, you can't really argue with that one, Nitesh. Let me hear what you got to respond to. I know you got something, but that one's kind of tough to respond to. That one, I mean, you really can't. Why do they spend so much money? Why are all these lobbyist firms? Why do they spend so much money trying to get our vote if it don't? Nah, she valid. I'm telling you, she valid. No, that's facts. Okay, so any other questions? Please ask. If we got any other questions, pop on in and let me know. Even if you want to hop up in the box and just do it live and just talk as opposed to chat, and we can do that, no problem. So the last question that I have for you is, when future generations look back at this moment, we look at, legalization and this political slippery slope we have into this fascist regime, immigrants and healthcare, all these different things that are just plummeting. What do we want? What do you want, Wanda James? What do you want people to say? This is what Wanda James contributed to these issues. This is how she was able to help us. And this is, you know, what does that look like?
So you know what? It's the things that I've always done in my entire life, right? The Wanda James was a fighter and that she was fighting for us, right? I've already was a part of Amendment 64. The reason why we have legal cannabis right now, the reason why you're able to work in this industry, the reason why we have stopped mass incarceration is because of the work that we did when we legalized here in Colorado. When we legalized with Amendment 64, there were 4 mayors, 2 governors, and almost every elected official told us that we were crazy and it would never happen, that nobody would ever speak to us again. You know what we did? We did it anyway, right? That was the beginning of making change. When people think that one person can't make change, the hell you can't. You can absolutely stand up and make it happen. When I look at my time in the military, when I went through the Naval ROTC battalion at the University of Colorado, there were 3 women in that battalion. 3 women.
Wow.
Last year we graduated 25.
Wow.
So once again, you know, you start those sparks and you make those things happen and you show people that fighting for America is the most American thing that we can do, right? And I don't want to give everybody a history lesson, but it was a bunch of people in trees with sticks and stones that beat back the British Navy, the British Army. That's why we are America today. Now, once again, I'm going to look at my black brothers and sisters, my Latino brothers and sisters, and my sisters, and say, you know what? It's time for us to beat back all of the things that we talked about. Corporate greed, destroying the planet, lack of immigration, lack of health care, lack of education. Beat this shit back. Act like we're Americans and we know what it is. And instead of turning our backs on what America is, own that shit. This is my country. My granddaddy's blood is in this country. My great-granddaddy's blood is in this soil. My great-great-great-granddaddy built this place, and my grandma built this place. So yeah, I take ownership of this country. This is mine. Make no mistake, this is mine.
I love that. I really love that. And you know what? It's so funny because even just talking to you, I feel like my politics have shifted ever so slightly. I'm very rooted in how I feel, but you know, I'm the most anti-American person that there is. You know, and my family's Jamaican, right?
Yep.
And you know, and I got a lot of family that's Haitian and Guyanese, and you know, and we see America's bombing Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago right now, right? And so for me, the American flag represents imperialism, right? That's what it represents to me. And
Absolutely.
so but I do have an African American grandfather. And you know, like you said, like his family and his blood is here. These people built this place. So for us to just be like, oh well, let's just dip out or like whatever, like it doesn't necessarily make sense. Like we should try our best to fight for equity within the system.
Not try our best, we should bring equity to the system, right? You know what, I want to quote another man of color, Yoda. And Yoda said, you know, there is no try, there is do or do not do. Those are your 2 choices, do or don't.
Right.
No try, right? This country is ours. Amanda Gorman, the amazing black poet at the inauguration, her poem was so beautiful and it meant so much to me. One of the lines in her poem, and I'm not going to be able to say as eloquent she is, and I don't remember what it was, but basically that America is not yet written, right? We're 400 years into this, you know? We have the ability right now to write this script, to write this country, to put the people in power that are going to make it right.
Right.
Right? America is not yet written. By 2043, America will no longer be a white nation.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Didn't know that.
You didn't know that.
Wow.
2043. What do you think that this battle of immigration is about? They are doing everything in their power to stop the browning of America. But you know what you can't stop?
What's that?
The browning of America.
I'm
You know
trying to tell
why?
you.
Because this is some dominant stuff, right? This is what I'm talking about.
Right.
So here's the thing. If all of this fight about immigration and the fight about white women having more babies, what do you think this is about? It's to prevent 2043,
Wow.
which is the year that America is no longer majority white.
Wow. So that's what they're prepping for.
That's what it's about. That's what this is all about. America is not yet written. Own this shit. This is your shit. This is your time. This is your generation's time to make a difference. I'm kicking down doors. I need y'all to come through there like, because it's you that will live in an America that is not majority white.
Wow.
Now, what are you going to do with that?
Wow. I think with that, it's difficult to say because with a non-white majority in America, can we still blame the racism on our issues on racism? Can we still blame intercommunal problems on racism, right? These are the things we got to prepare for. Yeah, I think that I don't see any other questions, but yeah, I mean, this was an amazing conversation, Wanda, and yeah, it's very difficult to shift my politics. Very difficult because I do a lot of research and I'm very rooted in what I talk about. But yeah, I have felt a little bit of sense of like, well, no, we definitely should try and work on this, or like you said, no try, do.